It is 2:30, so let's get started. Welcome everyone to this event, which is Bring on the Spring workshop. It's a gardening workshop and it's the afternoon session. We also held one this morning. This is a part of Bellevue College's Earth Week events, where we're exploring things around the theme, The Future is Now, which strives for a just and sustainable future for all. You can see our full list of events by visiting the link in the chat box. We do have a couple more this afternoon, so I highly recommend you check those out after this. My name is Amber Nicholson, and I am from the Bellevue College Office of Sustainability. I will be moderating this event. Before we get started, I have a couple things to go over. First of all, you are muted upon joining, and we would like for you to stay on mute unless you are actively asking a question or responding to a prompt from the speaker. There are a few prompts throughout, so feel free to unmute yourself when you are responding. If you'd like to keep your camera on, it does make for a more engaging session for everyone. This event is also being recorded to post on our sustainability webpage. Throughout the session, please treat everyone with respect and share your comments and questions in the chat box. We will open up for Q&A at various points, and you can either unmute yourself, as I said, or have us read out your question. For the best Zoom experience, click the speaker view button in the top right corner of your screen. Lastly, we pause to acknowledge that Bellevue College resides on the traditional and occupied land of the Coast Salish peoples, past, present, and future. That includes, but is not limited to, Snoqualmie, Suquamish, Duwamish, Nisqually, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot. We honor their connection to the region, pay respect to Coast Salish elders past and present, and stand in solidarity through their struggles with continued systemic oppression. We commit to care for the land and water and center equity at the core of our unlearning. Now let me take a moment to introduce our speaker, Andrew. There we go. Andrew is the Sustainability Associate Fellow for the Office of Sustainability at Bellevue College as a part of a new collaboration between Strategic Energy Innovations, Puget Sound Energy, and Bellevue College. He is a lifelong resident of Western Washington, having grown up in nearby Issaquah. As a recent graduate of Western Washington University, where he received a bachelor's degree in energy science and technology, he is working with the Office of Sustainability to help implement energy efficiency and carbon emissions reductions measures through the Climate Action Plan. He enjoys engaging in and finding ways to implement sustainability into everyday life. Welcome, Andrew. Oh, and also aside, we also have joining us is Brandon from the grounds crew, and he will introduce himself when he comes on.
Hi everyone, thanks Amber. Glad everyone could make it and join the session to plant some seeds and learn about some gardening. Yeah, so this is the afternoon session. Let me pull up my presentation here. All right, you able to see that? Perfect. Yeah, so welcome to the Bring on the Spring seed planting and gardening workshop. Let's get into it. Yeah, so again, welcome. Just kind of overview of today. We're going to go over materials that we have for us. And then we're going to go over the seeds that we have today. We're going to hear a little from grounds crew and what they do on BC campus with seeds and plants. We're going to do a little overview of soil. We're going to do some upcycling and reusing of containers for planting. And then we're going to actually get into the seed planting and talk a little bit about that. And then we'll go over some ongoing care and helpful tips for when you're growing your seeds at home. All right, so as part of the workshop, we sent out some seed and soil packets. So if you sign up for that, you should have received them. You know, here's some seeds that we sent out and soil bag. I kind of pre-filled my soil into some containers. These are just yogurt containers. But yeah, I got them pre-filled, so we can do planting easily. If you guys want to work on filling some containers that you have while we go through some stuff, that'd be awesome. Yeah, and then, so I have different kinds of containers. You know, I got some old yogurt containers. You can plant seeds in compostable things like paper towel rolls or toilet paper rolls. You can even plant them in old egg cartons. You know, you name it. you can kind of plant them in anything, as long as you poke some holes in it to allow for some drainage. That is great. I have a kind of dull knife with me today, but that works great for poking holes in containers like this. Just please be careful when you're doing that. We don't want any hurt fingers. And then, a spoon or shovel is great for moving your dirt. I always like to use my hands to do that as well. And then just some water. All right, so if you received a seed packet, you should have 9 different kinds of seeds today. They're kind of broken up into herbs and leafy greens and flowering or fruiting seeds. So we have basil and cilantro and arugula, and then there's lettuce, spinach, and kale under the leafy greens, and calendula, tomatoes, and peppers under the fruiting ones. All right, let's see, one moment. Are we hearing from?
Brandon is just trying to sign back on, so maybe we can revisit the seed harvesting when he gets back on.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so you can still see my screen, yeah? Okay, perfect. Let's just move on to some seed descriptions. We'll come back to this later as we actually plant the seeds, but if you don't have seeds with you today from one of the packets, you can find seeds almost anywhere. Your grocery stores will have them, your local garden stores will have them, you can order them online. There's tons of local places where you can get them, and they're all great. But the seed packets, they'll come with planting instructions, how far apart you should space them, how deep you should plant them, temperatures and things like that. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for everything you need for whatever seeds you want to grow. And then I just have a couple of slides here for the different types, but we'll come back to this. So here's some pictures actually from a faculty member at Bellevue College. They started at home in their own little greenhouse. These are actually some bell pepper seeds, which is some of the seeds that we have today. And then the picture on the right is some basil seeds, which is also included. So as you plant them, you can look forward to growing some things like this. Hi, Brandon. Are you able to?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry,
Welcome.
all. Sorry, let me grab my bearings for a second. In terms of seed, or just go into it.
Yeah. This is Brandon from Grounds Crew.
Yeah. Grounds Crew, as you can imagine, it's gardening time, so I'm a little bit chaotic right now. But in terms of seed harvesting, I guess there are 3 things that I would say you should always kind of follow. My first tip is always to know why you're doing it, right? Why are you collecting things? Are you trying to just save seed for the fact that you don't want to have to buy seed more often every year? Because that's why I kind of do it. I also tend to do a little bit of the seed collecting because I like to cross unique things. I'm trying to develop my own line of sweet peas, for example. It's got to know why you're doing it. Otherwise, what's the practice, right? Or you can just do it because it's fun and it's interesting. It's all up to you. The second thing I would always recommend is know what kind of plant you're dealing with. Not all seed collection is the same for every type of thing that you're going to be collecting. So for example, seed collecting can be as easy as grabbing a pine cone off of a tree and throwing it into the ground. That's one way to collect seeds, right? For trees. In terms of vegetable gardening, collecting a tomato off of your favorite vine and just leaving it on the ground, or being more methodical and smushing it out and making sure that the seeds are clean for next year's situation. It can be as easy or as complex as you want it to be. But knowing the life history of how a plant grows and why it germinates is always useful. That kind of information is easily found on the interwebs nowadays. And then the third tip that I have is be patient always. I have always run the risk of collecting the seed pods a little bit too early, and the seed isn't viable for the next year, and it's 1 year's worth of time that I'm kind of just wasted. So be patient and watch, note. That's all I really got for seed collecting.
Yeah.
It's a fun hobby. Get into it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've had fun with it. I continue to have more fun with it. And I'd say one other thing is, like, not all seeds are they're not all gonna grow. Who knows? Maybe you'll have luck and they'll all grow, but I wouldn't go into it expecting that. Some will live, some will, let's say they'll compost. But yeah, have fun with it and see what happens.
It's always kind of a learning experience year after year. We're trying to do more and more seed collecting and seed starting of native plants around campus. And I mean, native things have a little bit more stringent requirements as to getting them to sprout. So I end up usually with like half of the greenhouse just bare soil that nothing happened in. So even professionals fail more than half of the time, just so you all know.
But we'll cover some helpful tips to help you get up to that.
However, y'all, it is time for me to go. It was nice meeting you all for a split second, but I got a jet.
Thank you, Brandon.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, so that's a bit of an overview of seed harvesting on campus. They're doing an awesome job and looking forward to what they'll have in the future. All right, so we'll get through here these. Yeah, again, so here on the left is some bell peppers, and on the right is some the basil. So hopefully I'll have some of these growing very soon. All right, so I'm just going to do a little bit of an overview of soil. So if you got your bag, this is what you'll be planting in. So what is soil to the plants? First of all, it's a place for them to grow. It's a place to take root. The soil holds water either from what you pour into the soil or from the rain. It kind of acts as like a reservoir for the roots to suck up as they need it. And then the other big thing that the soil does is it provides nutrients to your plants. There's all kinds of nutrients that they need, but there's like three main ones that are really, really important to your plants. And when you look at fertilizers that you can buy, they often are listed by NPK. So those are the three big ones. The N is nitrogen. And what nitrogen does is help leaf development. So it helps them grow big and so that they can get as much sun as they want and need. P stands for phosphorus, and that helps the roots and fruit develop well. So the stronger the root structure has, the better a plant can expand and get more nutrients and water and just hold itself upright. And then for fruit development, we always want big tomatoes, big peppers, things like that. And then K, which is the potassium, that helps flower development and strength. So like tomatoes and other things, those actually come from the flowers. So that's a vital thing that you want to grow well with your plants. And then another thing about soil is sometimes you don't actually need soil to grow plants. Plants are often grown with a system called hydroponics, which is just growing your plants in water. And for that, nutrients are added to the water, so like these as well as others. But as Amber can show you, you can grow plants, just in a cup of water. at home, and she has a green onion here.
Yeah, so you can see here in my cup, I've just got some water and some green onion, and it's growing like crazy. So all you need to do is a little bit of water in the root of the green onion, and it'll grow. You can also do that for things like lettuce, but I have not been successful with that myself.
Yeah, you know, there's all sorts of things that you can regrow. Often those are things like lettuce and other things where, you know, there's a base of it that you can chop off and then place in water so that the roots can grow better. Not all things can do it. But as Amber is showing, green onions is something that's actually quite easy to do it with. So if you want to try something, if you want to try growing your plants in water, I would recommend starting off with something like green onions. If anyone has any questions as I'm going, please feel free to, you know, just hop on speaker or type them in the chat.
We do have a couple questions in the chat, but I'll leave a moment if anybody would like to unmute and ask it instead. Okay. One question is, do you have any cues for what to look for when you know seeds are ready for harvesting?
So I haven't done seed harvesting much, but Brandon was kind of saying, you know, it's longer than you think. Often I think they're almost about to fall off, or it looks like the plant might be kind of on its last legs. It's definitely kind of starting to die. And when it's doing that because it's putting all of its energy that it can into those seeds so that when they fall, they'll be good and strong for the next year. So yeah, I would be patient with it and kind of wait for your plant to be, you know, dying. And then often you can just they'll come off really easily and then you can save them. And when you do save them, you're going to want to keep them dry in a dry place. So, you know, whether that's in just like a Ziploc baggie or maybe if they're moist, you want to dry them off with some paper towel and then store them. But yeah, I would say wait and just kind of keep them dry and stuff like that.
Awesome. And then somebody else had a comment. Maggie said that their biggest mistake as a rookie this year was when they planted 2 to 5, I guess, seeds. I don't know, it's kind of some weird symbols on my computer. 2 to 5 seeds, and apparently they all sprouted. When they tried to separate them after a few weeks, they didn't like it, and they are currently stunted in growth. And this was for basil.
Mm. Yeah, so, you know, that's kind of tricky because like you did a good thing. You want to, you know, put several in a hole or whatnot, but you know, you got lucky and they all sprouted. I don't know if they all sprout like that. Sometimes the best thing to do is just, you know, cut a couple of them with a pair of scissors, or just, you know, pinch them off so they just straight up stop growing, and you can save some of the stronger ones. But if you want to keep all of them, I would almost wait until they're a little bit bigger and stronger so that they can handle being moved and separated like that. So, you know, it just kind of depends what you want to do. If you want to keep all of them, I would wait for them to get a little bit stronger. But if you're okay with having a smaller number, I would, you know, pinch them off or something so that the other ones have space to grow.
Okay, that's it for now.
Awesome. All right, so now we're just going to talk a little bit about upcycling and recycling containers. So here, I just have my soil and some yogurt cups that I've been saving. You know, I've been saving paper towel and toilet paper rolls. These are really great to use because you can, once your seedlings are big enough to transfer outside into bigger containers or, you know, beds or wherever you want to put them, they'll just, you know, decompose. They're compostable, so you can just transfer them right into there. You know, here's a big salad container that we have, but, you know, we're trying to get away from using plastic like this and, you know, having kind of fresh grown things. But now that we have some lettuce, hopefully we can get away from that. You know, here's just a Starbucks cup. You know, you can plant in kind of whatever, you know, metal cans, all sorts of things. Oh, and then here's also an egg carton. I found it easiest if like you put things like flowers or something in this. I think veggies and fruits have a little bit of harder time in these, but they, you know, they work great in like the paper towel and toilet paper rolls. You can compost these as well. For seed starting like today, I would definitely try to stick with something smaller like this. It's just easier to transfer seedlings in something like this rather than a bigger one like this. You can, when you like transplant your like bigger tomato and pepper plants, something like this is good to put them into. Oh, and then of course, as you use something like this, you're going to want to poke holes in it so that they have drainage. You don't want your plants to get too soggy or they'll kind of drown themselves. But you know, you can be really careful with this, but it's often very easy to just poke a little hole. You know, just takes a little tiny poke and that's all you need. Do a couple throughout the pot and you should be set. All right, so let's plant some seeds together. So if you know you got your seeds together for the presentation, we can plant together. Got your containers and soil. You know, we're good. Does anyone want to plant something specific today? If not, I can just pick something at random and go from there. But anyone want to plant something specific?
Let's do the peppers and tomatoes and fruiting
Awesome.
things.
Yes, I'm excited about the big fruiting plants we have today. All right, so you know, just got my soil. So I put it in here, and then I already put a little water in it. So this water bottle is just one that I'm reusing. Another great way to reuse plastic waste that you might have. And like the pots, I actually poked a few holes into the top of it so that you know, it's just a kind of drip into the pot. So I'm gonna go back to the plant description pages because that'll tell us how to plant these. So the packets these are from, they actually, it's kind of the same thing for tomatoes and peppers. So these ones, kind of on the bottom left there, says planting depth 1/4 inch. So if you have soil in your thing already, you can just kind of place them on top and then cover them with about that much soil. But if you have seeds and you either don't have the information on that or you know you just lost it or whatever, kind of a good rule of thumb for planting seeds is cover them with about double the width of the seed with soil. So you know if your seed is about like a 1/8 inch wide, then cover it with 1/4 inch of soil. So you know that's kind of what we're doing here today. So I'm just going to lay them out here. And, you know, you can, if you want, you can kind of separate your seeds by what they look like. The pepper ones are kind of round and, you know, tannish yellow. The calendula ones are the super curly ones. Those are the flowers. And then the pepper are the tan and yellowish ones, and then the tomato are the, you know, the other ones there. And you can plant these all together or separate them. I'm just gonna kind of separate them today, but you know, do whatever works best for you. So putting the pepper ones in right now, I'm just placing them on top. And then I just have some extra soil here. Just gonna, you know, take some and kind of put about that 1/4 inch on top of it, kind of pat it down a little. And then all you need to do is add a little water. And that's it, you know, not very much you need to do to this. Just kind of pop your seeds in some soil, cover them up, and give them some water. Give them some light. You know, in nature, these seeds will just kind of fall on the ground and maybe get covered up, maybe not, but you know, and get rained on. So you know, there's not that much that you need to do for these. Yeah, you know, so I'm just gonna kind of keep going through these and planting them. If anyone wants to share the ones that they're planting, or you know, pots that they are planting in, or have any questions, you know, feel free to put them in the chat or hop on camera to share what you're doing. One thing I do actually do, you know, if you separate your plants like I'm going to do for this, one helpful thing to do to keep track of what's in what pot is label them. So here I'm actually just using another yogurt container, and I'm just going to cut a strip of it, and then I just write the name of what the plant is and stick it in the dirt.
Andrew, there's a couple questions in the chat.
Okay.
One of them is, do you have any tips on deterring squirrels from eating the plants?
So, you know, things like squirrels and deer and bunnies, they're creative. They like to find your plants. I haven't had too much trouble with squirrels, so I'm not too sure about that. I've had trouble with bunnies and deer before. But I get generally for that, I guess I would just keep your seeds inside for a while, you know, while they're still growing. But if you're worried about that, then, you know, for something like bunnies, if you can set them up on something higher, even like a chair or something, they're not going to be, you know, super determined to jump up and bite them. For deer, you know, that one's that one's harder. I find if you can, you know, place kind of some larger objects around them that are tall, like if you have a patio chair or anything, just kind of keep them away from it. Probably the best thing that you can do, you know, just at a local garden store, or even, you know, like Fred Meyer's or something, you can often find just like mesh screens or mesh like fencing or mesh metal fencing, and you can put that up around it. That's probably the best way to, you know, keep your plants from getting eaten. But you know, it's kind of like growing plants. You gotta have a little trial and error with our nature friends. Sometimes it's weird. Sometimes, you know, they love plants for 1 year, and other years they don't eat them at all. So, you know, it just kind of depends on, I don't know, how hungry your local nature friends are.
I've also heard sprinkling cayenne pepper can help.
Oh, that's a good idea. That reminds me. Yes, there are some like natural things you can do. There's some flowers that are just fragrant that they're more deterred from, but that's not like that's not my promise that they still won't eat them. But you know, you can just do a kind of quick Google search of flowers that they avoid, and that might help. But yeah, you know, there's all sorts of things, but deer and bunnies and squirrels, I think kind of have been a problem in the past and kind of always will be. But you know, trial and error. Okay, so let's see, I planted my peppers. So just as an example, you know, I like to write what I planted and then write the date on it. That's just helpful for, you know, checking back to see how long ago you planted them and things like that. Often seed packets will tell you, oh, you know, however many days till germination or however many days to harvest. So just kind of a general timeline of when you might expect to have things grow.
Another question is, are seeds still growable if the expiration date on the packet has passed?
Yes, I think they're kind of like food. Often those dates on packages are like a best by date for when they're they're freshest. So on seed packets, they often say packed fresh for this year, 2021. But I've used seeds from 2 or even 3 years ago. They're generally good for a while. But that being said, the longer you go, the less likely they are to germinate. So if you're using something from a couple years ago, I would definitely say put a couple seeds in each hole, or in whatever container you're doing, because they're not likely to all sprout. But I would expect some to. But weeks or a couple months past that date, I wouldn't worry about it. You're fine. Let's see here.
Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Or if anybody would like to share some of the items that they're planning to plant this year, that'd be great too.
Yeah, I'd love to see other people's gardens to be.
Hello. Actually, I'm excited that my raspberries this year, since I planted them last year, they're going to fruit. And that'll be really exciting. Except my dog likes raspberries.
Oh no.
I have to keep out of the bushes.
Yeah, it's understandable. Raspberries are delicious.
That's great. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I stick to just walking along roads and picking some blackberries.
Would anyone else like to share what they're planting this year? Or some of the containers that you may have found to start your plantings in? Feel free to post in the chat too if you're not comfortable sharing out loud.
Let's see.
While Andrew wraps up his planting, feel free to ask any questions.
Should I cover some tips and things that would be good?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, just feel free to hop on or post in the chat. But let's see, let me get back to the tips here. Yeah, so for ongoing care, you want to make sure, especially until they sprout, and after as well, everything needs water, but you want to make sure that you keep your soil nice and moist, but be careful to not overwater it. That's why it's really important to poke some holes in the bottom of your containers. Yeah, and make sure to be consistent with it. If they dry out for too long at all, even a couple of days, it can make your seeds not sprout. So make sure to be consistent with that. And then another big thing is sun and light. If you have an outdoor space and it's warm out, I would put your seedlings out in the sun and get some get that vitamin D so they can grow big and strong. But if you don't have any outdoor space, that's great too. I would try to find the sunniest window that you have wherever you are, and not plant them there, but place your containers along the windowsill. They they will definitely go towards the light. You know, and another big thing, it's not on here, but you want to make sure your seedlings stay warm. So if you have them outside, make sure to bring them in at night, especially when they're starting out, or just kind of keep them inside until you're ready to transplant them. Yeah, let's see. For the larger plants that were in your packets, or you know, whatever ones you might pick up, like the tomatoes and peppers, those are going to grow, you know, to a pretty good size. So once they sprout in your smaller containers and they're, you know, about, you know, 2 to 4 inches tall, kind of strong enough to move, you're going to want to put them into something a little bit bigger so that their roots can spread out and, you know, grow. But you know, for your smaller things like the herbs and stuff, you know, they'll probably be fine in something like this. But make sure to transplant those bigger things that you have, and make sure to poke holes in them as well.
Someone in the chat mentioned that there's a Michigan State study that's been going on for the last 150 years to see how long seeds remain viable when in soil. The bottles contained a mix of sand and seeds, and when they dug up a bottle in 2000 and planted them, some of them still sprouted. So seeds can last a really long time.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that's, you know, way longer than I would have expected, but, you know, just goes to show, you know, just because you have a seed packet from even just last year, you know, it's totally fine. Throw them in some dirt, give them some water and some light, and they'll be great. That's really cool. I didn't know about that. Thanks for sharing that. Here are just some other helpful tips. Sorry, there's a lot of text, but basically it's the water thing again. Keep them moist but not soggy. Make sure they have lots of light and heat to grow big and strong. Let's see. And then one big thing that I've run into, if you're growing them inside, or yeah, if you're growing them inside under like a bright light or something, your seedlings can shoot up and grow really quickly and become what's it's called leggy, but basically they just grow so fast that they topple over from their own weight. So when you grow them inside, it's good to give them a little breeze, you know, whether that's from a window or if you have a fan, you can kind of place it aside it and kind of blow it on the low setting. But what that does is it helps their stems or their stalks, you know, thicken up and become strong, and it helps their roots become strong, so that, you know, they don't collapse under their own weight. But, you know, if you have space outside, and it's warm out, make sure it's warm. You know, you can put them outside for a couple hours a day, and then bring them in later. But just to make sure that they, you know, don't fall over.
Ariana sharing another tip for lack of space is to grow seeds in a plastic sandwich bag in a damp paper towel and then tape it to the window.
Oh, that's awesome.
You can actually watch the roots grow this way. Oh, she's got an example. If you want to unmute, we can actually see that.
Yeah, here it is. It's an activity that I have done with first graders, and they love it because you can watch all the little seeds grow.
Oh, that's awesome. So you just have a wet paper towel in there, and then you tape it to the window?
Yep, you just tape it to the window, and they get the light. And every once in a while, if it looks like it's drying out, you just open it up a little bit, put a little bit of water, and just close it back up and put it back.
Oh, that's awesome. And then once they start growing their roots, do you just, you know, put them in your little containers?
And it's easier
Awesome.
to cull the herd that way too.
Another person said they've done that as well with preschoolers, and it works well with beans.
I have some beans that I want to plant soon, so I think I'm gonna have to try that.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Or any other questions that you'd like answered? Hope everyone's doing their planting, and that those that received the seed kit that we mailed out.
Yeah. One of the big things I would just say is, have fun with this. You know, some, I wouldn't expect everything to grow, but, with just a little water and some light, you should have some herbs and fruit and veggies soon.
Michelle made a comment that many seeds are happier if they are soaked a little bit first, such as peas. I'm not going to attempt that. Nasturtiums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so peas and nasturtiums, they're, what we have in the packets and whatnot, they're all pretty small seeds. But like peas and nasturtium, they're, a good quarter to half-inch seeds, and they can have kind of hard shells. So soaking them will help them germinate.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Well, Andrew, do you have any other pieces or?
I don't think so. I keep saying it, just have fun with it. Gardening is definitely a learning adventure. Happy gardening. Happy spring. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you to all of our attendees. Make sure you check out the rest of our Earth Week events. We do have another one right after this, which is about the United Nations group on campus and how they're working on sustainability. You can visit that via the link that we posted in the chat. We are also hiring a student outreach coordinator for sustainability, so please feel free to email us if you're interested. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day and weekend.
Thank you.